Sharet Tzedek. Help me out. Avovam. Odeya. Pichuli. Sharet Tzedek. Avovam. Odeya.
Page 344.
Odeya, Pichuli, Sharet Tzedek, Avovam, Odeya.
Shabbat Shalom.
We begin with the words of Hine Matov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, in your prayer book on page 10.
Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine Matov Umanayim,
shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's a delight to welcome you to Congregation Beth Am, whether you're with us every Friday night or this is the first time you're here. Send a special Shabbat Shalom to all of those who are joining us over the streaming. I hope it's a wonderful and peaceful Shabbat for you as well. With that spirit, let's take a moment and reach out and really do this. This might even require you standing up. Reach out to someone that you do not know or you have not seen in a while and wish them a good Shabbos. You don't like it when I do this, do you? Okay. Mazel tov to your whole family. I'm so happy for you. Mazel tov. Congratulations.
Recently, but
Mazel tov.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hi.
It's going to be great. Shabbat Shalom. You guys are going to be up in a minute. We'll do it together. They got up. It's good.
We read the news of the world and we read the news of rise of anti-Semitism in this country and around the world. And we continued about no war, about Israel and Gaza. And also we look for moments of hope. Earlier this morning, if you were with us, with Rabbi Weissman and myself, we had the opportunity of convening a Beit Din this morning. And we took down a conversion candidate to the mikvah, and she immersed in the sacred holy waters of the mikvah and became one of the newest individuals as part of our covenant. So we have moments of joy that renew who we are as a people. And for some of us, that's the celebration of bar mitzvah or b'nai mitzvah, as we get to honor the family of our b'nai mitzvah by lighting the Shabbat candles. So we'll invite you forward. Rochelle Merkin, Rob Peterson, Rosemary Merkin, Barry Merkin, along with Adam and Ben Peterson. And we are on page 2. All the way over here, come on, all the way over here. So you just pick up the whole candle like from the base. Yeah. You come stand next to your grandma.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Have Adam and Ben come stand next to Rabbi Weissman, and ask you to lift up your cups of grape juice. Our prayer of Kiddush is on page 5. And if something joyful or nice happened to you this week, maybe you celebrated a big birthday or a little birthday, maybe you had a birthday or an anniversary, or maybe you're a Rangers fan, or you connected with a friend from a long time, or maybe you're just here and you're under the age of 13, we'll invite you forward for a little bit of Shabbat grape juice. Don't be bashful. We have a lot of cups here that we need to fill. And we are on page 5. No one wants juice. What am I supposed to do?
Just pass them.
Yeah, we'll pretend it's tequila, and then people will come. So, yeah.
Eloheinu melech Barei Pari HaKafen Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech Asher kishanu mitzvotav v'ratzalanu v'shabbat kodesh ve'ahavu ratzon inilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereshit kibuyam tehilah lemikrai kodesh zeher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu arta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodeshecha ve'ahavahu ratzon hinatanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh
Chaim. Rabbi Prosnit is still giving his juice out. So we'll turn to page 20. As we sing the words of L'cha Dodi, we welcome in Shabbat as if you were a beautiful bride. And we'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to that last verse, we'll rise and face the doorway, welcome her in, along with anyone who's arriving late. Let's join together, page 20.
There's some activity bags, if you want them.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela, shamor v'zachor, b'dibur echad hishmianu, ela meyuchad Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet, le'eli tehila, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela, likrat Shabbat, lecho b'ne'elcha ki hi mekor, haberacha merosh mikedem, nesucha sof ma'aseh, b'machshava tchila, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech, kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kvod Adonai, alaich nigla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela. Boi v'shalom, ateret balagam b'simcha, u'v'tzolatoch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela.
The Baruch Hu, our formal call to worship, is on page 28.
Yai lai
Lai, yai, lai, lai, lai.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai
words of Ahavat Olam, our meditation before the Shema, page 32. Ahavat Olam, Et Yisrael, Seated, page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta ba'am, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha b'derech, u'shokbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, V'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'yisharecha, leman tizkeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kidoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai The words of Hashkivenu are on page 42. The Beth Am version is on the song sheet that might be in the pocket in front of you. If it's not, you'll figure it out, or you know the words already, but it's song number 3.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Uvros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, uvros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkot, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam brit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam brit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinavash.
If you're able, I invite you to rise before we offer the words of the Tefillah, the Amidah, which begin with the opening meditation on page 46.
Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid Tehilatecha. Oh, eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Oh, eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melech, Melech memit umechaye, umatzmeach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Yeheyul ratzonim refi, Yeheyul ratzonim refi, ve'yon levi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Oh, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable before thee, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. We are delighted to be welcoming a guest speaker this evening, David Hazoni. He is an American-born author, but now lives in Jerusalem, where he has written and published widely. He has authored, edited, and translated many books and is a winner of the National Jewish Book Award. He's the founding editor of thetower.org, the former editor of Azure, Israel's leading journal of public affairs, and his essays have appeared in publications such as Commentary Magazine, The New Republic, Policy Review, and many others. He's also served as executive director of the Israel Innovation Fund and is one of the featured speakers at the Z3 conference at the Oshman Family JCC this Sunday. His new book, Jewish Priorities, 65 Proposals for the Future of Our People, is an unprecedented, large-scale collection of timely and provocative essays from a wide range of Jewish thought leaders that aims to start a global conversation among Jews about their future as a people. Tonight, Mr. Hazoni will address the question. This is a question that I think we came up with before October 7th. But so it sounds a little different now, but his talk is Zionism relevant today? So, David, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you to all of the people who were involved in inviting me to come and organizing this, and to all of you who are here. So first of all, Shabbat Shalom. I promised in the conversations before that I'm not going to give you any baloney, because we don't have a lot of patience for that right now, right? So let's get straight to it. On the morning of October 7th, I, like so many Jerusalemites, woke up to sirens, and it's a very rare thing in Jerusalem. We usually, even in the rounds of conflict that have happened, Jerusalem is usually left out, and we huddled in our safe room, which is the girls' bedroom, tried to figure out how to close the heavy window, which we eventually did. Started calculating how far away the boom is and counting, like with lightning, where you figure out distance from the delay and all that and stuff. And then went about our day, because we had plans to drive up to Haifa to see my in-laws. And we drove, and we saw roadblocks along the way, and we started listening to the news. That was at 7:30 in the morning that the sirens went off. By 11:47, I had already sent out a, I'm allowed to call it a tweet in this part of the country? I sent out a post on the social media application formerly known as Twitter. Um, and I wrote that we don't really know what the numbers are, what the size of this thing is, but it certainly seems like something of unprecedented magnitude, an unbelievable horror, and a war that will not end quickly. Later that day, I got a text message from my son that his best friend had been killed and that he was going to volunteer on an ambulance because he's a trained paramedic. Within 72 hours, it was clear that my first cousin's ex-girlfriend of 14 years had been abducted. My wife's second cousins had 2 murders and 1 abduction. And just 2 days ago, just to give you a sense that this is ongoing for most Israelis, just 2 days ago, some very good friends of ours at our shul learned that their first cousin, the wife's first cousin, had fallen in battle in Gaza. This is the story of Israelis right now. It's not that we know somebody. It's that we know a lot of somebodies. And it touches every single Israeli from multiple directions, not all at the same time, so it's day after day after day of horrifying news. Another thing that happened within those first couple of days was that 5 of my children were suddenly in uniform. And they still are. They serve in different units. I have one who never answers my text messages because even in regular times, he never answers my text messages. I have 2 who are telling me, I love you, but I'm busy. And I have 2 more who are asking me to get them an iPhone of different colors and to buy things for them while I'm in America, which gives you a sense of the difference of the experiences depending on what units you're in and how, what kind of deployment you have. In the midst of this horror, just a few things, just to give you a flavor of what we experienced, right? You're in incredible shock, but you have to focus, and one of the ways to escape the shock is to focus on the most pragmatic things, right? You have to pick up your kids, basic things have to happen. You have responsibilities. I had a meeting in my schedule for the next morning, for the Sunday morning, with a senior diplomat who's a native English speaker, and we had a meeting set up. I had never met her before. Had been looking forward to it. And she texted me and said, I can't do this meeting. I have to go to the Knesset. How do we do this? Those are her words. How? The answer, of course, as anybody who's gone through some awful, awful trauma, is that you do this by putting one foot in front of the other. And you do it because you simply have no alternative. Something else that happened after about 3 days was that the moment the terrorists were no longer in our country, and it took a couple of days to be sure of that, the entire country shifted from one of absolute horror and panic to, on the one hand, starting to get all the stories coming in and therefore deepening grief and shock, but on the other hand, an absolute and total, instant, full-blown mobilization. And mobilization was not simply having 360,000 of us called up into the military. Mobilization was nationwide, helping victims and their families, helping evacuees, of whom there are more than 100,000, helping each other in every conceivable way, and dropping everything that had divided us before. Not only was judicial reform simply forgotten, not only was the absolute refusal to make a government with Netanyahu dropped and a unity government was formed, but thousands of ultra-Orthodox Jews, including ultra-Orthodox women, were volunteering for the IDF. And then one of the things I had to deal with, one of the pragmatic things I wanted to focus on to escape the horror, was this book launch. Now it is the nightmare of every author to work on a book for 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, only to have the launch completely thrown off by completely earth-shattering historical events. And my assumption was, like any other author with a book, okay, I guess that's that. I guess I'm not going to the States. And the 10 to 15 events, I can't even count them anymore, planned would all be canceled or postponed indefinitely. And the reason I'm telling you this in part is because I need to explain why I'm here and not there. This project, as you heard, is not simply any book, but it's really the first time that I can think of that anybody has tried to put the entire Jewish people into a single volume with all of their disagreements and with all their radically different approaches, and to ask, we have ended up with 65 authors, and we're talking about ultra-Orthodox to secular and left to right politically, and Israelis and Americans and other diasporas and younger influencers and older writers, and put it all together in one place. I don't know, since the Talmud, if you can think of anything quite like that. And all of a sudden, the event hosts, the venues, a big full-day event in Philadelphia with 30 speakers from inside the book, ended up being 25, but still 25 is a lot. A big event on the Upper East Side of Manhattan at the Stryker Center, which some of you may have seen online. I heard rumors that at least one of you have seen it, saw it online, because it happened just 2 nights ago. Actually, I have no idea what day it is, but it's probably Shabbat. That was a Thursday, so I'll leave it to someone else to do the math. Another event in New York City, an event in New Jersey, the Z3 conference. Every single one said, we're not canceling. We want to do this. We need this. So from my internal Israeli perspective, it was a little difficult for me to know what to make of it, but I said, okay, if everybody tells me they need it, I'm going. And when I landed, I found that the trauma that American Jewry was facing was not identical to the trauma of Israelis. In some ways it was less, and in some ways it was more. It was I don't want to say it was radically different. It wasn't radically different. Everybody, so many Jews in America have direct connections, have been there, have family there, or friends, excuse me. And so much of it was the same, but some of it was different. For example, I heard the phrase in Philadelphia at the full-day conference, I heard the phrase loneliness and fear a lot. A lot of loneliness and fear. And Israelis felt fear before they switched to we're at war mode, and we know exactly what that means, so at least there's some control over the mental framework. But loneliness we haven't felt. I'll tell you something we did feel, though, and this was really interesting. I got to Philadelphia, and I went to the hotel room, and I did it. My first night was in Boston, right by Faneuil Hall, and like the old State House, and then I got on a plane and went to Philadelphia, and out my window is Independence Hall, and I'm thinking, wow, I wonder if there's a message here. And then I got into the hotel room, and I turned on cable television, and suddenly I'm struck by the same stories that I had been drowning in for 2 weeks inside of Israel were being shown on all 3 cable networks nonstop. But I noticed one difference, which is that in Israel, about 25%, horrors, right? Just horrible, horrible, horrible stories, the brutality and the suffering and the uncertainty and the hostages, just on and on and on and on. But in Israel, about a quarter of the stories were also about heroism, about a bus driver who had gone back and forth inside the music festival, in the middle of everything, while terrorists are running around, just to save as many people as he could. About the woman who somehow managed to there were terrorists in her house and managed to keep them at bay by offering them like milk and cookies or something for just long enough till the army came and saved her. About the grandfather in Tel Aviv who got a text message from his son with his grandchildren in a safe room in one of these kibbutzim, who grabbed a gun, and drove down there and led the charge to free his own children and own family. And we got these stories too. And the fact of the matter is that if you ask me what is it that created or that kept Israelis strong in this moment of absolute calamity, I would have to say that it's my kids and all of the soldiers, and to hear them talk. To hear them talk. There was an interview on Channel 12 of 4 commanders of the Egoz Special Forces Commando Unit who fought on that first day. And they said, we had to step over the injured body of our own commander who was made sure he was being treated, he was on a stretcher. We had to step over him in order to charge the town, because the most important thing to us was that if the terrorists met anybody, it would be us and not civilians. And so they asked the officers, what can Israel do for you? What can the country do for you? And they said the most important thing is to stay united. Stay united behind us. Keeps us strong. This is the soldiers telling us how we can keep them strong while they're keeping us strong. And they said, what do you imagine for the future? And one of them said, I see all these burnt out kibbutzim, and I see them rebuilt. I see them prospering more than ever. And that's what we're fighting for. So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be amazing if the diaspora were to mobilize and to unify to that same extent? And to be quite honest, in the last 2 weeks since I've been here, I've seen a lot of mobilization. It's really, really quite impressive. But there's still so many Jews who are lonely and afraid. But there's one thing that I really feel a need to say. And I don't know if this answers the question about is Zionism still relevant. I'm sure it does. And I'm sure that you will all see that it does. This is not just a war about Israel. Okay, the storekeeper in Istanbul that put up a sign, "No Jews allowed," in the middle of demonstrations, wasn't talking about Israel. The demonstrators who put a picture of a garbage can with a Star of David in it that says, "Clean up the world," is not talking about Israel. Even the demonstrators in Brooklyn who said, "We don't want no Zionists here," they weren't talking about Israel either. They were talking about Jews. And when Hamas, in its charter, Article 7, quotes an ancient Muslim text saying, "We will make war with the Jews who will hide behind stones and trees, and the stones and trees will call out, 'O Muslim, here are the Jews.'" They weren't talking about Israel either. This is not me giving good news, but the truth is, the entire Jewish people is the subject of this war. But I call it a war and not a pogrom for a reason, because a lot of people are using the word pogrom. Pogrom, to me, and probably to a lot of you, says helplessness. It says there's nothing we can do but keep our heads down and just wait for the storm to pass. And I think that's wrong. I think it's inaccurate. I think the Jewish people today, its resources, its creativity, its boldness, its youth, is potentially more powerful than at any point in its history. And in my mind, the correct response is to suit up and get ready for battle. Now, what does that mean? Of course, that means many, many things, right? I'm not saying, well, it means different things in different communities. It means, first of all, understanding that every Jewish community, no matter how isolated, is an outpost of our Jewish army and needs to be protected and needs to be safeguarded. And it doesn't mean isolation and sadness and fear, and it also doesn't mean rage, because that's not how generals think. Generals don't fight wars through rage. They fight wars through strategy and mapping out and intelligence gathering and communication and planning and figuring out where is the enemy, who is the enemy, what are they up to, and how can we take the fight to them. I really do believe that we are an amazing, amazing people, and that our enemies around the world are not really prepared for what we are capable of delivering to them. But just as Israel's operational goals are to dismantle Hamas, and as defined very specifically as to eliminate their ability to wage war and eliminate their ability to govern, because if we don't do that, then nobody's ever going to move back into the kibbutzim in the south, period. It's not negotiable. But so too should we have as our operational goals, not the elimination of anti-Semitism, right? That's like eliminating racism. It's a fantasy. But the radical disempowerment and disincentivization of the anti-Semitic hordes that we see building today. And I believe it's possible. I believe it's doable. So if I can leave you with a blessing on this, in these difficult times, is that we will not fear, but have the strength to come together, to think creatively, to realize, and this is also an important point, mobilization isn't just about Israel. It's important, it's crucial, it's wonderful. Right now it's an emergency. But we need to stay mobilized and invest in the diaspora too. And that's education, and that's rethinking an awful lot of things that we may have gotten wrong over the decades. But if I can offer you a blessing, it's that we'll have the strength, the creativity, the boldness to get together, to take the fight to the enemy, and to reestablish a safe, creative, and prosperous diaspora all around the world. So thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom. Just one last little thing. This is the book I was talking about. And there are flyers outside if you want to remember what it's called later on. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.
So let's just give this a shout out. Jewish priorities, 65 proposals for the future of our people. We'll be sure to get one for our Bethlehem Library and to continue through our JIAC team who helped bring David here to spread the word about opportunities to gather the book. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
With the idea of blessing in mind, I invite you to turn to page 253 as we offer our prayer for healing, renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. This week, the Bethlehem community is specifically offering prayers for Susan Aaron, Ginny Anderson, Baruch Cohen Ben Susi, Mark Cohn, Abigail Cover, Toby Elman, Marty Gelman, Selena Glader, Gosling Ben Shira Ve'etam, Sarah Guido, Judith Eisner, Moritz Huppert, Judith Ovadia, Sophia Palisbam, Rabbi Laurie Phillips, Bobby Rosenkrantz, Robert Silver, David Baruch Ben Simona, Ellen Stromberg, and Julie Sutcliffe. If you're thinking of somebody else and offering a prayer for healing, I invite you to share their name out loud at this time. 253. As a community, we're committed to do everything that we can to remember the 240 individuals who are being currently held hostage in Gaza. You may have seen the sign when you drove in, bring them home. We'll share stories of some of them as well. This Shabbat, we think specifically of Eitan and Yair Horn, who were abducted from Yair's kibbutz near Oz on October 7th. Eitan, age 37, had come from his home in Kfar Saba to visit his older brother, Yair, age 45, that holiday weekend. The family had immigrated from Argentina years ago, and when sirens began sounding, warning of incoming rockets, their father Yitzhak messaged his two sons. Eitan answered him, "Did you forget that Yair's kibbutz, the missiles always pass overhead?" That was the last communication received by the Horn family. When the father heard that the terrorists were attacking kibbutz Nirim, he understood that Nir Oz would be next in line given its location. And a friend later confirmed that the brothers were together at this time of the Hamas incursion into the kibbutz. Eitan is an informal educator who had long worked with different youth movements and served as an emissary in Peru. And Yair works in construction and is involved in Nir Oz organizing parties and holidays activities, and was responsible for the local kibbutz pub. They're very involved uncles and taking their nephews often to Hapoel Beersheva soccer games. We think of them as we offer this prayer for Israeli soldiers and civilians being held captive. O God, the one who raised Joseph up from the pit, as the psalmist says, be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Send complete rescue and full redemption to those held captive by the enemy. Strengthen their spirit and bring them our prayers that they may be protected from all harm. Implant understanding in the heart of the enemy that they may return the captives in wholeness of body and spirit. Grant wisdom to the Israeli Defense Forces that they may secure freedom for the captives without loss of life. Grant strength of spirit and courage of heart to all the sons and daughters of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, to release bonds of captivity and allow us all to live in freedom. As the psalmist says, they shall call upon me and I will answer them. I will be with them in distress. I will rescue them and honor them. I invite you to rise on 282, the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Be seated. Just a few brief announcements before we rise again for Kaddish. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock during our Torah study, we also have the opportunity to have another wonderful guest. This time it's Vice President of the Union of Reform Judaism and Executive Director of ARTSA, the Association of Reform Zionists of America. Rabbi Josh Weinberg will be leading a conversation on the parasha, as well as responding to what some of the reform movement's thinking about what's currently happening in Israel and Gaza. That'll be 9 o'clock, 9 to 10, and it's also streaming from the Beth Am webpage. This month, as a tzedakah, the month of November, Congregation Beth Am will be collecting tzedakah for Leket Israel. Leket is the leading food resource organization in Israel, really the national food bank, serving the poor in Israel and food banks worldwide, actually. Currently, Israel's southern residents are facing an unrelenting emergency, and they need our immediate support. Leket Israel has launched 3 emergency relief programs, working hand in hand with local nonprofits to address the pressures and needs of those at risk. You can donate. There's a tzedakah box near where you picked up your siddur, near where you picked up your prayer book. You can donate on the Beth Am webpage, just mark tzedakah, or you can Venmo Beth-Am. We turn to the prayer of memory, page 294. If I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise in his or her honor, and then we'll rise as one to say Kaddish together. Lost to the Beth Am community this week, this period of Shiva, was David Lair, the uncle of Josh Lair and Jaffe Lipson, the great uncle of Noah, Sasha, and Tali, and Mavis Nathan, the cousin of Leslie Behar. In this period of Shloshim, we remember Marvin Gerstein, Donald Baer, Marcia Radin Wagshaw. On this period of Yartzeit, the anniversary since death, we remember with love Ida Becker, Roz Beitler, Belle Bestor, Marjorie Blau, Marion Block, Alexander Brinnan, Lil Brownrout, Adam Glenn Berwick, Melvin DeHovitz, Rivka Dinner, Barry Frank, Mildred Geiger, Chaim Gershater, Henry Goldberg, George Goodman, Max Granick, Ann Hunting Highmark, Rita Hodis, Hin-Yu Huey, David Jackler, Joanne Jacobs, Jerry Kabak, Leo Katz, Esther Knox, Marcus Knox, Jonathan Crass, Samuel Lapidus, Mary Lee, Carl Levine, Joanne Levy, Hilda Lipton, Susan Lockwood, Ruth Lowenberg, Hugh Liu, Celia Nemchuk, Sarah J. Overstreet, Hilda Owens, Jane Reber, Shirley Salim, Dennis Schreck, Lorraine Seelig, Annette Shedroff, Mark Segal, Harry Simon, Jean Smith, Rose Sweetwine, Rosalind Targ, Russ Tincher, Brent Triger, Marion Weinberger, Sam Wise, David Waluka, Abraham Zlotnick. If you're observing Yartzeit for someone or in the first year of mourning, I invite you to rise at this time and share their name out loud. We rise as one. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'yama devara kirite b'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uv'izman kari b'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit haleh, v'yit halal, shmei d'kusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata. Tush bechata b'nechemata. Damiram b'yama b'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. B'chaim aleinu b'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu b'al kol Yisrael. B'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say amen. We sing a song for peace, the words of Adonai Os.
Page 305.
305.
Bottom of the page.
Adonai os le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai os le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo.
Joanne reminded me that we're going to ask you if you'd like to continue to linger in the foyer, or there's still some snacks in the social hall. David's around. Don't monopolize him, but certainly if you have questions or thoughts about anything he said, to continue the conversation. Sometimes on Shabbat, if you go to us, there's 2 challahs, and we only have 1 tonight, so you guys are going to have to share. You guys are good at sharing? No? Okay. Well, after the bar mitzvah, they're going to be amazing sharers, so join with us. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, Shabbat shalom. Take a piece.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Big piece, big piece. Actually, why don't you take that whole thing and pass it out, okay? Give it to your parents, your grandparents, there's a nice little guy behind you they give it to.